preacher say one night, that people could look at the cloud and say it was going to rain. And it would rain. And still now they can't discern the signs of time. We can see the signs, people. The signs of time. And the time now is to stand up. Stand up for your constitutional right. And one day if we keep on standing up, we won't have to take this literacy test to copy a section of the Constitution of Mississippi we had never seen and interpret it too, when if he had the same test, he couldn't. One day we won't have all of this to do. We'll keep right on walking, and we'll keep right on talking, and we'll keep right on marching.
So that is our film that we've been working on for the past couple years. Let's see, I'm sorry.
Are vegans healthy?
And I'll be showing a couple more clips behind the scenes in our students' Find Your Voice Filmmakers workshop as well. So obviously I did not do all of this by myself, and I usually present on a panel with my teammates or colleagues, so I'm going to try to do their part some justice. I don't know if I can do as good as they do, but Megan Parker Brooks and Dr. Hawk were the two lead researchers on this project. Megan Parker Brooks teaches at Willamette University, and Dr. Hawk also teaches, or he teaches at Florida State University. They've been researching Fannie Lou Hamer for the better part of 15, 20 years now, even when they were working on their dissertations as well. So Dr. Hawk and Megan met each other by chance. Megan had emailed Dr. Hawk in 2006 about a Fannie Lou Hamer speech that he included in one of his books that she had a hard time finding, and they quickly realized that they've been working on pretty much the same exact research, just on two totally opposite parts of the country. So they teamed up together to do more research on Fannie Lou Hamer, and they also co-authored a book together on Fannie Lou Hamer, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we have Monica Land, who was actually a great niece of Fannie Lou Hamer, who also met Dr. Hawk and Megan Parker Brooks throughout their research, and she's been a great resource as well with family members and pictures and images and archives. She's also a statistical reporter here in Mississippi, and she also helps us secure grants from different sponsors and or donors for our project and all different aspects of it. Then we also have Keith Beauchamp. He is a filmmaker who is working on a film right now about Emmett Till, and it's being directed by Whoopi Goldberg. And he also was instrumental in getting the civil rights cases, cold cases reopened, and he had a couple cases retried again in civil rights history. And we also have Joe Davenport, who was a graduate of Florida State University as well, who was the main director of the film Fannie Lou Hamer's America. And we have me, and then we have R.J. Fitzpatrick, who we happened to meet a week before we started the Filmmakers workshop, and we found out that he was an aspiring filmmaker from the Delta, and he graduated from Mississippi University, and we thought he would be a great addition to actually help some of the students. He was familiar with some of the students already. We wanted him to also stay here as kind of a personal local contact to help students if they ever needed to borrow any equipment or needed help on a project. So he's been very instrumental in that capacity. So this is the Fannie Lou Hamer's America team. These are all of our sponsors and grant donors. None of this would have been possible without all of their generosity. This is a picture of the Fannie Lou Hamer America team that I just introduced in front of the Emmett Till Interpretive Center, which the executive director of it is sitting right behind you, Patrick Weems. He has also worked tirelessly in Mississippi to get the courthouse rebuilt in Sumner and to foster a place for reconciliation and community activism. So these are our sponsors, and we have been very successful in every aspect of the project, and we're very excited for our anticipated fall rollout, or July 31st is our anticipated rollout. So we're very excited to introduce the Fannie Lou Hamer Americas project. As I was mentioning, Megan Parker Brooks and Dr. Houck kind of got together to do a lot of research on Fannie Lou Hamer. They co-authored a book, To Tell It Like It Is, some of the speeches of Fannie Lou Hamer. And on October 2012, they had an unveiling of the Fannie Lou Hamer statue in Rouville, Mississippi. They were able to secure over $100,000 in donations and funds to create this statue and bring it to the park in Mississippi where she was from. And they really wanted to get a presence of K through 12 teachers and students there when they had this unveiling. And Megan invited a lot of the teachers out, but the response that she got was quite shocking to her. Basically, the response was that they didn't have materials, that the students wouldn't know who Fannie Lou Hamer was, that it wouldn't really help for them to go see this unveiling because they didn't recognize her. They did not have materials to teach this. Some of the books that they had were outdated. They were like from 2005. They had no mention of Freedom Summer. They had no mention of CORE. They had no mention of Fannie Lou Hamer. And it's funny because Mississippi was one of the first states to actually mandate civil rights lessons in the classroom, and they actually mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer by name. But come to find out that the teachers just didn't have the resources. And this reminds us of a song, Mississippi Goddamn by Nina Simone. Everybody knows Mississippi. She talked about some of the conditions. And then, well, some of the conditions that she mentioned. Statistically, Mississippi education is chronically underfunded. It ranks among the lowest on standardized testing. U.S. Department of Education labeled Mississippi Delta in a state of crisis. Teacher shortages, 20 to 40% of the classes are taught by teachers who lack certification. It's a high turnover rates as well. In one Delta school last year, there were only 4 out of 24 teachers that returned. So again, they're really struggling. No updated materials. Students really didn't know who Fannie Lou Hamer was. And then we also have a couple of newspaper articles that state Mississippi's ranked second to last in national ratings, short shrift in Mississippi classrooms, and also ranked 49 overall through healthcare, education, economy, opportunity, infrastructure, et cetera. So it's clearly not that the teachers didn't want to teach Fannie Lou Hamer, it's just that they didn't have the materials, they didn't have the resources, they had no archival documents or images or oral histories and things of that nature. So Dr. Houck and Megan Parker Brooks really wanted to bring their research to the Delta and to Mississippi. Also, they had an unveiling or a centennial celebration, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But so we have this kind of image of people who knew who Fannie Lou Hamer was, and then we have this image over here of this little girl who's looking up at the statue like, who is this person, right? Who is this person that I'm looking at that's larger than life? And then we have us in the middle who just lack the resources to teach the new generation who Fannie Lou Hamer was. So Dr. Houck and Megan Parker Brooks really wanted to help out with this situation, and just to make sure that Fannie Lou Hamer was worthy of all of these praises, we went and checked and got a couple of notable people that sung praises about her name as well. The president of Guinea in Africa invited Fannie Lou Hamer in 1964 among 12 other civil rights activists, along with John Lewis, James Foreman, and Bob Moses. In 1964, Malcolm X invited her to speak in Harlem and referred to her as the country's #1 freedom-fighting woman. Martin Luther King is known to have said that he did not like to perform with Fannie Lou Hamer because she would steal the show every time. She was one of the first 3 black women to be seated on the floor of Congress, one of the first civil rights activists to speak out against the Vietnam War before SNCC and before Dr. King. She founded the Revolutionary Freedom Farm Cooperative as well. And then we have a quote here from Eleanor Holmes Norton, who was a U.S. Congresswoman, and she said, Fannie Lou Hamer was one of the most inspiring souls to emerge from the civil rights movement of the 1960s. No one who heard her can doubt that. As a speaker with an awesome combination of focused intelligence and vision, she alone was in the class with Martin Luther King Jr. So we're definitely not tripping. Fannie Lou Hamer should be venerated and highly revered, right? And she should definitely be taught in the classrooms, especially when there's a civil rights mandate to be taught in classrooms. So we also have a clip here that we made for the centennial celebration, and I would like to share that with you, which also kind of puts into perspective how important Fannie Lou Hamer was and also how relevant she still is today.
I'm Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, and I farmed on the Marlowe plantation for 18 years. I had charge of keeping up with the time and paying off, and I went down the 31st of August to try to register. And after I had gotten back home, Mr. Marlowe told me that I would have to go down and withdraw my registration or leave, because they wasn't ready for that in Mississippi. My soul is tired of seeing people suffer. I'm very tired of every time I pick up a book or every time I pick up a newspaper talking about somebody that's been shot, somebody that's been killed. This country is coming apart at the seams, and it's up to us to make this a better country. Because to be perfectly honest, it's hard for me to stand up and sing the national anthem. I stand up and I work my mouth, but I don't always come through with the verses. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail? Because actually the land of the free and the home of the brave have meant the land of the tree and the home of the grave for so many of us. Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, where people are being murdered, lynched, and killed because we want to register and vote? I don't think there's even a white person under the sun could say they would be patient as long as we've been patient. This is just a lot of crap that folks talk about true democracy of this country, because ain't nobody had it. You hadn't had it because you can't have yours until I have mine. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. For so many years, Negroes have suffered in the state of Mississippi. And we are tired of people saying that we are satisfied, because we are everything but satisfied. This country is sick. And the only way this country will survive is people working like you and like I'm working, that's really concerned about human beings of this country. Because other than that, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And the same thing goes with a nation. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. And it's going to take people like you that's concerned about this country that can make a great society. The salvation of this country will rest on your shoulders, all of your shoulders. That's young and determined to see that things will change not only in Mississippi but all around this country for human beings. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Oh.
The sharecropper.
Sorry. Okay, so for the centennial celebration, some of her family also came out. I don't remember all of their names. I know some, Jackie, Lenora, Nook, and Cookie. They came out to support for the centennial celebration as well. So Dr. Megan Parker Brooks and Dr. Houck got together and wrote these two books as well. Also another book by Shauna Kai Lee. And it's all going to be included in the website as well. Megan Parker Brooks searched over 10 archival collections, 7 different cities, hundreds of friends and family audience members who heard her speak, transcribed recordings, and compiled them. We have over 20 hours of songs, 30 hours of speeches, of interviews, and some TV and radio, 30 letters to activists, over 100 news clippings spanning over 60 years, over 150 images, over 300 pages of transcribed materials, also a cookbook, a children's book, telegrams, etc., that are all going to be housed in the Fannie Lou Hamer's America website. Basically, the power of her words were held to transform contemporary social, political, and economic institutions, and this helped explain why she wasn't better remembered. And it calls to mind Malcolm X's famous quote, "Only a fool will let his enemies raise his or educate his children." Fannie Lou Hamer is, some would argue, an inconvenient hero, seeing as how she waged direct, uncompromising struggles against voter suppression, police brutality, segregated education, systemic poverty, healthcare-related disparities, and she did so in highly confrontational ways like the congressional challenge. So some would argue that she's not more well-known because the media is more comfortable showing innocent protesters get trampled than they are showing 3 black women trying to unseat racist white supremacists in Congress. So she's basically a tragic hero in that case. She's not better known because she remains a threat to established politicians, activists, and civil rights movement is an argument. So Dr. Houck and Megan Parker Brooks, along with the help of countless professors in Delta. Some of these professors include Grinnell Bounds, Danielle Creel, Valerie Fairley, Brenda Kirkham, Alicia Irvin Rawls, Latasha S. Rogers, Mamie Washington, and our very own R.J. Morgan. And they all worked alone and together with Dr. Houck and Megan Parker Brooks to develop these lesson plans. Over 18 units that range in ability from different grades and ages, from pre-kindergarten through college, social studies, English and language arts, science, government, journalism, filmmaking, etc. R.J. Morgan also made a lesson plan on freedom songs for Fannie Lou Hamer. And they will all be housed here at our Fannie Lou Hamer's website. And this is kind of where I came in, kind of late to the party, working under Dr. Houck. They were showing me all of this information. I was like, wait a minute, you guys don't have a website? So I built them a website and got included in the project. I was invited to Mississippi. I met Patrick Weems 2 years ago. We did a workshop at the Emmett Till Interpretive Center as well. And then I came back last year to do another workshop at in Rouville. For the Find Your Voice Filmmakers Workshop. So the website, the Fannie Lou Hamer's America website, will be housed by Willamette University. Megan Parker Brooks plans on working there for the next 30 years. So it will be there for the next 30 years. It will constantly be updated and maintained, and it will constantly be working. All the links will be available. It will house the movie that we're making. It's a 70-minute documentary on Fannie Lou Hamer. It's all done in her own voice. There's no talking heads and images, kind of poetic images of the Delta. It will also hold the K through 12 curriculum, as well as information about the Young Filmmakers Workshop and the future Young Filmmakers Workshops as well. We'll have some of their projects and activities on there. We have a community discussion guide. We also partnered up with Brain Pop, and they made a couple of cartoons on Fannie Lou Hamer. And this is usually a paid subscription that you would have to pay. And I researched it. It would cost like $3,000 per school just to have access to Brain Pop. So Brain Pop agreed to make some cartoons about Fannie Lou Hamer, all including primary source documents, and included absolutely free in the Find Your Voice website. We're also going to have a virtual tour of the different locations that are relevant to Fannie Lou Hamer, a place where you can upload art, and different people can also contribute, community connections, a speakers bureau, bibliography, and also related sites as well. And we plan on to be complete with it on July 31st. And we're really excited, and we really want the professors to have enough time this summer to try to incorporate some of this in their lesson plans for next year. And it'll all be absolutely free on this website. So that kind of brings us to the Find Your Voice Filmmakers Workshop, where I participated as a co-instructor. These are my other co-instructors, RJ Morgan and Joy Davenport. So we had 15 students. We said that we can only take 15 students because we wanted to make sure that we had enough equipment so every student could have access to equipment. So we had over 25 applicants. We had to narrow them down. And then we had an additional applicant that is him on the corner. We found out he was actually Fannie Lou Hamer's relative. So we thought, wow, this is very exciting to have him also. We were honored to include him, so we had an extra one. And then we also had one kid that just showed up. He heard about it. One of his friends told him. He didn't even apply, but he just showed up, and he was so excited to learn that we did not have the heart to tell him that he could not participate. So we let him stay as well. So we ended up having 17 students from the Delta from 3 different schools. We had a 5-week program. We worked from Monday through Thursday. We still gave them Fridays off so they can kind of enjoy some of their summer. We also included a $500 stipend for each student that we did not mention on the application process because we didn't want them coming just for the money, but that was kind of a surprise and an added bonus because we understand that summertime is the only opportunity where they can kind of work and help their family out or save up for school supplies, etc. So they were able to make $500 as well. We drove over 200 miles a day picking them up and dropping them off. There was free meals, free lunch. We had a couple sponsors throughout the Delta, a couple McDonald's. I know Pizza Hut also donated as well for their lunches. Like I said, it was a 5-week program, and we thought that it was very important to include this because of the research surrounding the digital divide. And the traditional digital divide was more concerning about who had access to computers, but now not so much. It's about how these computers are being used. And as I showed here, kind of this old school computer as compared to this new school computer, right? So what researchers are finding is that students in lower socioeconomic backgrounds are only using computers to develop basic academic skills, basic remedial programs, drill and practice, viewing websites, or maybe entertainment, as opposed to the higher socioeconomic backgrounds where they actually develop critical higher order thinking skills. They use software, iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, Adobe certification programs, coding, augmented reality, virtual reality. They're doing HTML for websites. They're actually creating content. So what researchers find is that this kind of fosters a master-servant relationship with technology and the students. And students that find themselves on the servant kind of relationship, they take orders from the computer, they have to answer the right question, they have to answer 10 correct questions before they can get to the next level. If not, then you kind of kick back to the beginning. So computers are basically telling them what to do, as opposed to this master relationship where we are telling the technology what to do. We're actually creating content with the technology. So we really wanted to organize the course with 3 main goals in mind. We wanted to introduce the students to the skills that they needed to document their own stories. And through the different grants, we were able to secure 3 entire kits for the students. They were students from 3 different schools, so we wanted to get a kit for each school and leave it with the schools so the students can also use it whenever they needed or whenever they wanted to do a project. We were able to get Panasonic 4K cameras, tripods, carrying cases, 3-point lighting kits, shotgun mics, lavalier mics, hard drives, memory cards, computer with editing software, batteries, cables, etc. Everything that they needed to kind of dive in and get started. They had a great time. They kind of jumped in as soon as they could. We had to wait 2 weeks for the equipment to arrive. So as soon as we got there, we all had our own equipment. So we kind of let them use that equipment. So they got a wide variety of different cameras, of different settings, of different equipment to use, as well as their own equipment when it arrived 2 weeks later. And then by the first week, they were already producing their own content. This is a clip, or this is a quick short film that they produced on their own by the first week. All of the shots were made by them, but we had to help them edit it because we had not taught them how to edit yet. But this is, every shot was done by them, and this was on the first week.
Rihanna Vicha once said, "Don't write for the market, write for your readers." It's not about writing a bestseller. It's about sharing something that can touch hearts and shift minds. As a writer, I fell in love with this idea, and I got carried away.
This school is Gentry High School. Gentry High School was rebuilt in 1952. Gentry was an all-black school for colored people. It was during the civil rights. We have won many awards. Our school colors are maroon and white. Also, we are home of the Mighty Rams.
Hey, that's what we do here, bro. That's what we do here. Basketball, straight basketball, nothing else. Basketball.
The ability to tell a story and tangle with the human emotions has always been fascinating for me, just because it's me doing it. The ability to move my pencil across the paper and draw amazing things was just mind-blowing, and people would ask me, "How did you do that?" And I just shrug my shoulders and say, "I just do it." Pablo Picasso said, "Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up." The moral of our productions, our goals, our dreams is that we do it because it excites us, because we love it. Out of many, we were just created to create.
So that was the film that they did on the very first week that they got the camera equipment. They were very excited. They knew that they wanted to use a little poetry, so we kind of had one Carlia write a poem, and then we split it up, and they totally just went to work with the cameras and filmed them having a good time at school. We also, this is a video of behind the scenes. I guess I'll try to, I don't know how much time I'm looking at, but we'll show a little bit of it. This is them actually being able to open up the equipment. They knew that this equipment was brand new and it was theirs, and that they were going to be the master of this equipment. So they were very excited. Megan Parker Brooks and Dr. Hawk came during the 2-day workshop that they had during that same week as well, and they were able to stand in as the kind of talking head experts for the students. We were able to interview them on Fannie Lou Hamer, and we also included that in their film that we ended up producing after the entire 5 weeks. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'll stop it right there. So yeah, that was them having a great old time learning how to use the equipment. We got to go in the gym and film some of the basketball students. They had hands-on. They were able to set up three-point lighting and do interviews with Dr. Houck and Megan Parker Brooks. And they really got to learn how to use the camera equipment, how to use the audio equipment, how to properly mic their subjects as well. And this kind of led us to our second goal, because with what the research was finding with the master-servant relationship with technology and servant relationship is that these students don't really see themselves in IT fields in the future because of this servant relationship, because they have such a hard time with this technology that they just think that it's impossible for them to be in a IT kind of related field in the future. So we really wanted to break down some of these barriers and give them the confidence and the experience that they need to find themselves and to know that they can master this equipment and also see themselves in these fields in the future. So we had a great opportunity to do just that. We were already working on, or Joe Davenport was working on a project in Atlanta with another film group. Lonnie Holly is one of their names, and Cyrus, I forget his last name, but they were doing this film called I Snuck Off the Slave Ship in Atlanta, and they were going to film a 4th of July celebration. And they wanted us to come to Atlanta to help continue the film, but we figured since we were already in Mississippi, why not just take whatever money they were going to pay us and split it up amongst the kids, and then we kind of let them have their first freelance job and get paid to do video work. So some of them couldn't participate because they already had plans for the 4th of July, but we had 10 of them participate and volunteer. We got invited to Keyshawn Meeks' family's house. They were having a celebration. It happened to be his grandmother's birthday as well. So we were able to hang out with them for the 4th of July and record. And then we were able to mix and edit our footage with the footage that was shot in Atlanta for the 4th of July, and it just worked. It really looked like it was in the same place. There was this fence that was there, and there was that same fence in the other film, so it kind of looked like we were in the same backyard. It also made a connection because it was going back and forth, kind of time traveling through Lonnie Holly's life, and he always had a red shirt on. And then one of our students had a red shirt on, so it kind of like looked like this was Lonnie while he was a teenager. So it really worked perfectly. And we submitted the film to Sundance Film Festival, and it got accepted to Sundance Film Festival. So, and they also got their names mentioned in the Mississippi Today. Mississippi Delta students contributed to a film that debuts 2019 Sundance Film Festival. So not only did they get the opportunity to learn how to use the equipment, they also nailed it on their first shot, right? They worked on a film that got accepted into the largest film festival, arguably, in America. So not only do they have the experience, they have confidence, they also have proof. On the credits, their names was labeled right there on the credits, and they can go and say, look, I know what I'm doing. I've worked hands-on with different film or with a film, and my work got accepted into Sundance Film Festival. So this was very exciting for them. We were very excited of that accomplishment. And also, then this leads us to our last goal, which we wanted to get them to be able to produce their own content. And this is the film that they produced, and they also nailed it again because this film was accepted to Crossroads Film Festival in Jackson, Mississippi, and it'll be premiering Saturday, April 13th at 3 o'clock p.m. in Jackson, Mississippi. So they were accepted into another film festival. So right off the bat, they got accepted into 2 film festivals and were able to learn how to use the camera equipment and get all the confidence that they needed. So I'm going to show their film that's going to be showing at the film festival next week. Oh, first of all, so they didn't really know what to film, right? So we had to kind of train them and try to help them make connections with the past and try to see how Fannie Lou Hamer and civil rights activists kind of connected to their lives and how instrumental they were and kind of how it brought us to the present and what this means for the future. We encouraged them to talk to their family members and to look in their own backyards or family members that may have known Fannie Lou Hamer or may have participated in the civil rights movement. They were very surprised to find out that some of their grandparents and some of their grandparents' friends actually marched with Fannie Lou Hamer Hamer and with Charles McLaurin and different civil rights activists. They were very excited to see that connection and see that they were not so far removed from the past and that this really does have something to do with their lives and the future. Some of them were into music and singing, so we told them definitely we'll include some of the music. Everybody in Mississippi Delta goes to church, so we included some of their footage from church as well. And we included documentary materials from Fannie Lou Hamer as well. And then lastly, we had a student, Carlidia, who kind of got into a situation that weekend before class, and they were riding around with some friends, and she was racially profiled while they were riding around, and kind of got into what could have been a dangerous situation. And as more people were coming to help the people that were kind of stopping them, they were kind of blocked in, and they were able to barely get out before the other person got there. God knows what he was coming there for. But they were very scared. They made it out of there without any damage or any harm. But Carlidia was very hurt by this. She couldn't understand how this person had so much authority over her, and she couldn't understand how, or she just felt real bad that she wasn't able to express herself how she wanted to express herself, and that this person just had authority over her in that way. So we told her that this is definitely you finding your voice, and you should express this in the film. So we also did a reenactment of what happened to Carlidia and her friends that weekend. So this is the film, and it will be debuted at the Crossroads Film Festival.
Jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton. Jump down, turn around, pick a bale of day. Oh, Lord, I'll pick a bale of cotton. Oh,
my father had a saying. He taught us that nobody in the world was any better than us, and we were no better than anybody.
Jump down, turn around, and pick a bale of cotton. Jump down, turn around, and pick a bale of day.
Growing up on the farm, as a young kid, we went to the field and we picked and chopped cotton, and one of the things that I always wanted is to get away from that field.
Oh Lord, I'll pick a bale of cotton.
Growing up was good for us, we thought. But then as the years went on and our understanding got better, we knew that that wasn't the best thing for us. So that's when things started to change. It started to get better because we realized we were in a situation that we shouldn't be in.
Just feeling from day to day the pressure from being a young black kid growing up in Mississippi. When Emmett Till, I know you've heard of him, when he was killed, I used to love to sing and whistle. My mother dared me to whistle. I couldn't whistle anymore. In my songs, I liked to whistle. So that was one of the things that there are certain things that you couldn't do as a result of knowing about other experiences that had happened here in the Mississippi Delta.
Woke up this morning with my mind.
We had to make sure that we stayed in our place, because like when you go to the store, you had to make sure that if another white customer was there, we had to let them go first, and then we went second.
If white folk lived in this area, black folk lived in the other area, we wasn't allowed on their side, but they could come on our side anytime they got ready. We worked with Student Nonviolent Coordinator Committee, CORE, NAACP. We never got a chance to go to jail. They would put you in jail for coming in the place to eat, just to eat. Now, you could go outside, you could order your food from the window, but you couldn't come inside. So we wanted that change. So in order to change, we got together and formed a group, and we went in together. See, if you want something done, do it as a group. You will succeed, because if you just talk yourself, they'll just say you just complain. You're not satisfied, but if you do it as a group, then that'll make them think you're serious.
As I was out organizing, we taught people about, not only about program, but we taught them about how to go and to register and to vote, to where to go to register to vote, and not to be afraid to do that. So I had even greater experience when I worked with Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, who was influential in my life and helping me to be able to work in the community and organize and work with youth as well as adults.
We are tired of being mistreated. We are tired of dying for nothing. And God wants us to take a stand. And the only way that we can change the system in the state of Mississippi is by going to the courthouse, registering to vote. But you got to stand up. Freedom is not something that's put in your lap. You will have to go to the courthouse and say, I want to register. This is a protest to show them that I'm not satisfied.
What I learned from researching Fannie Lou Hamer, she never backed away from who she was. She used that as a source of experiential wisdom. So she would say to audiences, I know what hunger is about. I know what that feels like. I know what poverty is about. And she used that as a point of pride and credibility to speak from.
She is a woman who is a prophetic voice. To this very day. She passed away in 1977, but one of the reasons I study her is her voice continues to resonate with what's going on in our world right now.
Freedom! Freedom! 400 years of love, nonviolence, turning the other cheek, and still being lynched, hung, and murdered. This has to be something else. It's always been a one-way street. It's always been the black people that had to give nonviolently, that had to love.
One of the notable things is that she was the oldest field worker for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So the majority of members of that organization were college students or students around that age. And Mrs. Hamer was in her 40s, close to her mid-40s when she joined.
Everybody sort of revolved around her orbit because she was so passionate, she was so well organized, and she knew the Delta better than anybody.
Fannie Lou Hamer was really motivated by her firm religious convictions. So her grandmother before that, she grew up in this Black Baptist community, and she grew up with the sense that the sharecropping system, this exploitative economic system, was fundamentally unjust.
You serve God by serving your fellow man. And if we are not concerned about these kids that's suffering from malnutrition because they don't get enough of the right food to eat, and if we are not concerned about each other going to the field working for $3 a day, coming out so tired we can't hardly cook what little we have, then stop saying something about I'm a Christian.
Lord, we pray for our young children, our teenagers, our babies, Lord Jesus. Lord, we lift them all up before you this morning. We pray you just fill them, Lord Jesus. Lord, when they're all said and done, we just give you praise. All honor and all glory, because you deserve it all. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Been taught that we had to suffer as Christ suffered. He was killed and all of the followers was persecuted. But I think in terms of what David had to do, David was a shepherd boy, but he was giving service to his people. But it did come in a time in his life he had to slay Goliath.
See, we hold on to what we went through. They don't know what we went through. They understand what we tell them. Because they didn't have the experience. They only experience what they are going through.
See, it's good for them to know what we had to go through. So, because they don't have to go through it, but they are still facing some things that we didn't have to face.
My hair was changed, now it's so full. I got it. It got me sound like a fool by myself. I'll leave it from your Snapchat ad me, girl.
Yeah, I got him over here. Yeah, come along.
When my grandma used to work out here, all of this was a parking lot. They literally let the grass grow up through the concrete. I'm about to put this on Snapchat so I can show her when I get home. And look how they busted the windows out of that factory.
Yeah, that's cool, but ain't this that same truck we passed when we were blocking around in the old neighborhood?
That truck does look familiar. Well, we need to go. Come on. Hurry up, RJ. Who is this guy? He says,
Y'all got your license? Hey, yes or no, boy?
Who are you? What's it to you? Why does it matter?
Because I want to know how much trouble y'all are in.
Trouble? We get in trouble just for riding around?
Yeah, just for riding around.
Are you accusing us of anything?
I'm telling you to find somewhere else to ride around.
Okay, I'm done with this conversation. I will not be talked to that way. You can talk to RJ.
Okay, y'all in some real trouble now, though.
The 17th chapter of Acts, and the 26th verse said, has made of one blood all nations. So that just means it's a different in the color of our skin. But the sad thing, that ain't too many elder people see that. It's young people today. It's the Christian church.
I think there should be more people who've had experience having a conversation with you. The conversation should start at home. The other conversation, if you go to church, and I'm thinking there's a lot of learning that you can get in church, and not only you get a sermon, but there are youth groups in the church, and they're teaching in the church, and they can learn a lot from working together.
When you put their wisdom together an hour and we talk about and work those things out, hey, you got some brilliant folks working together, and they can produce. And that's what's so good, and it really makes my heart rejoice when I see young folks achievement. Their passion for what they want to do, and then they go after it.
We give God praise, man. The Lord is in the house.
So that was their film. We're very proud of them. They totally nailed it. They got into the Crossroads Film Festival. We had to help them edit it a little bit towards the end because it was like the 5th week and we didn't get the equipment on time. So we helped them a little bit with the editing, but every shot was done by them. It was framed by them. The interviews, the lighting, it was all done by them. So they really learned a lot, and we feel like by introducing the students to storytelling through film, teaching them to use professional equipment and giving them the opportunity to produce their own work, we hope that we could break down some of the walls that continuously keep minorities out of IT fields. And along with the Find Your Voice K-12 curriculum and the website, that will always be there for all teachers that want to teach Fannie Lou Hamer and have lesson plans. It will be there absolutely free. So it's a great resource. And yeah, that's our Fannie Lou Hamer America project. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any questions. Yes. Yes, we hope to do it every year, but we are doing it this year, and we hope to do it every year afterwards as well. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, we encourage you to go to the website, and if you know any kids that want to apply or participate or even volunteer or just come and hang out and learn, that would be awesome. Thank you. No. Well, that was yeah. Carlidia and her friends were hanging out that day, and they just fled and got away, and we're just happy to be able to get away. They didn't, we don't know what the other person was coming to do, but they almost ran the guy over to get out of there. So no, they didn't call the police on him though. Right. Yeah. 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 That was a reenactment, but yeah. She was just happy to get out of there, and we were just happy that no one was harmed. A lot of confidence, man. They really want to continue to work on projects. I'm on Facebook or I'm on the phone with them constantly. They're constantly telling me about new ideas. They want to do videos. They want to do dance videos. Carlidia wants to do makeup. She wants to be a YouTuber. One of our students, Selenia, changed her major from I think it was journalism to film now. Yeah, and another one, Quanzarius, really wants to do editing. We're thinking about trying to open up in the future a digital freedom school where we can just fill it up with computers and just let them have at it with a bunch of software and just learn all day. So we're hoping that that could happen as well. But yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of confidence, a lot of projects. They're able to they have access to the equipment as well if they want to try to do new projects, and they all expressed an interest in trying to do new projects as well. Well, no, these students did it last year, and most of them are going off to college now, and some of them will still be here, and we're going to do a follow-up with our new students to see how their lives have progressed since the class, and then they're also becoming, they all express, or some of them express interest in coming to participate and actually help to teach the new students as well, so they'll also get more experience in that way, and we'll try to do more films and hopefully get into more film festivals as well. Thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.